Hello, everyone, and welcome to webinar 11. This is the last webinar in our series of the Holocaust, of our Holocaust unit. From next week onwards, we'll be doing our Israel unit, which is very exciting. And we have a lot to get through in this session because on the one hand, we're learning some new things, but we're also kind of summarizing everything that we've learned this unit. So first off, it's kind of an Israel movement, but kind of not, because it was an Israeli study that came out with this news here, that around 40% of Europeans are anti-Semitic in some way or have anti-Semitic sentiments, which is a pretty crazy statistic. Does anyone have anything to say about it? Considering we're studying the Holocaust? Do you think it's a big number or a small number? Good question, Danielle. How many people live in Europe? I am actually not sure. I guess if 150 million are anti-Semitic, then you do the maths. I'm really bad at maths. 40%, that's 40% of whatever the big number is. Yes, thank you, Rabbi. What is anti-Semitic? I want to define it in your own words. No? So anti-Semitism is essentially being against Semites. Semites are people Semites are people who are from the Semitic tradition. So that could be Jews and actually Arabs as well. Here we're talking specifically about Jews. So people, anti-Semitic is someone. It's not any other culture, religion, or race. It's specifically Jewish when we talk about anti-Semitism. Usually, in general news and things like that. It's a pretty crazy statistic, and you would think that after the Holocaust, when we said never again, it would be different. But as we all saw from last week's class, genocide still happened after the Holocaust and happened in huge numbers. So unfortunately, the world still hasn't finished learning about it. And hopefully this study will help people think what they can do to kind of deal with this problem. That is true, Melissa. It is nuts. How can people feel that way? It's crazy. Definitely. Great. So that's our Israel moment, not particularly a positive thing. One other interesting fact for the day is it could have had a better ending, but this time, I think it was 13 years ago, Ilan Ramon, the first Israeli astronaut, went off into space, but unfortunately the space shuttle, what's the word?
Did not return.
Was destroyed. Did not return, that's it. But it was a proud moment for Israel when he did take off. So that's just a little snippet of history for you. Okay, Zach.
All right, everyone. It's nice to see everybody again. So as Michal mentioned, this is the last session that we're having on the Holocaust. And just as we'll take 3 to 5 minutes to do this next piece, which is a Google form, which I'm posting in the chat right now, which this will take you to a Google form that has questions about some of the things which we learned this year, which love to see what you guys remember, see what you guys learned. You'll notice specifically, there's some specific questions, but there's also some more general questions that we would like you to answer. So there's questions like, what more would you like to learn about the Holocaust? These things help us because we can either, give you information that will, maybe not in the class time, but at other times, and also for future years, will help us make this class or this part of the class much better, even though this year has been great. So go to this Google form. I would say take the next, I would say 4 minutes. I want to say 4 minutes, Michal, to fill out this form and to submit it. All right. So we'll take the next couple minutes to do this. It's not a test. You're not getting graded. It's just to see what you guys have learned and see what you guys remember. Those of you,
yeah, and it's anonymous.
right? It's anonymous. And those of you who are like, we see you on your chat, but you're not on video. One of the whole purposes of learning online is so that we could, still all see each other and collaborate and talk with each other as a class. And when people don't show their videos or don't speak, it's hard. So I think there's, I don't want to go through everyone, but if you see that you're not on, thank you people for joining. It's much appreciated because if we can't see your video, we actually don't even know if you're here. And as Rabbi Knia said, love to see everyone's beautiful faces. Okay, so please fill out this form. I'll post this is the link again, and you guys could take the next 4 minutes to answer it. Okay, let's take another 2 minutes. Are people still filling out the forms? You could just nod your head yes. If yes, if you're finished, give a thumbs up. Okay, we have 3 people finished so far. 4. Hi, Sierra. If you keep your video on, that'd be great. Okay, so let's give another minute or 2. Michal said to make sure you submit so that we could see what you're doing. Oh, interesting, Sarah. You have Zoom as an app?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's really cool. Did you know that, Michal? All right. Good to know. Maybe I'll do 2 videos so that you guys can see you from all the different ways. It's like Hunter, can you turn off your cell phone, please? I'm just kidding. I know it's not yours because you're muted.
It was me. That was the timer.
No, timer. Not timer. Timer.
Timer.
It's the timer, Brooke.
Guys, we still can't see any responses yet. So,
they're probably coming in.
Yeah. I guess that means you're taking a bit more time than we anticipated. So we'll wait until we can see some responses before we continue, because it's really important for us to hear what you have to say. Oh. That's strange.
Okay, let's continue. Maybe just before we continue, does anyone want to maybe mention just by speaking or by chat, maybe something specific that they remember that sticks out in their mind from what we learned this year so far, even if it's one fact, idea, story, impactful thing. You could write it or you could just say it on video. Anyone? See some people writing. I don't want to talk it out. No? Oh. Daniel wrote 6 million Jews were killed. Great, thank you. Anything a little bit more specific about what we learned? Maybe something that you didn't know from before? No, I don't want everyone answering at one time, okay? I don't want to rush to give an answer. All right. Love to hear more from you. Okay, I think we should continue, Michal.
Okay, for some reason they're still not coming up, the responses. So hopefully it's just a delay or something and we'll get it soon. Because we're looking forward really to seeing your responses. If you didn't manage to finish in the time period, please try and get it done when we finish class so that we can see and hear from you what you think would be best or what you enjoyed the most. What we're going to be doing now is we're going to go all the way back 11 weeks ago to the first week of our course, and we're going to look at what you guys wanted to remember about the Holocaust. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at what you wrote that long time ago before you knew everything you know now about the Holocaust, and we're going to update what we wrote. So in one column on this Google spreadsheet, which I'm sending you now,
Michal, I have the responses if you want.
Oh, great. Okay, thanks.
Okay.
We have week 1 on the first column, and under week where it says week 11, find your name and work your way across it, and add in something else that you want to remember about the Holocaust now that you've learned so much more about the Holocaust. Just maybe we'll do a quick reminder of all the classes that we've done since the beginning. So we started off talking about why remember the Holocaust and what we need to remember. And then we moved on to a lost world. What was life like in Europe for Jews before the Holocaust and in the world then, and what was lost as a result of the Holocaust. Then we talked about the path to the Holocaust, how Hitler and anti-Semitism and the state of Germany all affected the way people believed. Then we moved on to already 1935, when certain laws started getting put into place. We spoke about how people resisted to the Nazis and the Holocaust physically, and then we learned about how they resisted spiritually. Then we saw what the final solution was and how that came into effect and how it was possible that people could even think that way. And then we spoke on the other side, we saw people who were amazing and saved lots of Jews, called the righteous among the nations. Last two lessons we had was faith in the Holocaust. We learned how did people deal with belief in God after the horrible things that they went through. And finally, last week we spoke about genocide and the Holocaust. So how the Holocaust was just one genocide, or was the first genocide, and afterwards there were many other genocides, and what we can do to prevent them. So taking all that into account, please go to the Google spreadsheet and add in under week 11 what you want to remember. Give you about 2 minutes to do that. So don't change anything in week 1, just add something else to week 11. If you didn't do anything in week 1, that's fine, just go straight to week 11. If you can be specific, that would be even better. So give an example.
Wait, what week are we again?
11.
How do we get to it? I can't really find it.
It's in the chat box. I'll add it in again. Okay, if you have any more problems, let me know. I can see some really nice comments here. Or if you want to change what you wrote, you can write the same thing that you wrote and maybe expand on it. I'll give you about another 2 minutes to do that.
Okay.
Okay. So, does anyone want to explain what the thing was that for them stood out the most that they learned over this time that maybe changed or that was added to what they knew before? Anyone? Note takers? Okay, so then I'm going to have to pick and choose.
What's happening with everyone? You guys used to talk so much and now no one's talking. We miss it. I thought like we can't see you, like we see you. And you guys just wrote something. Love to hear your voices and not just look at your beautiful faces. No one wants to say what they wrote. In week 11, things that you want to remember?
I'll say something, I
Thank
guess.
you, Rachel.
Yay.
Like, I want to remember that, like, that events like the Holocaust still, like, appear in today's generation, and that, like, events in the past can repeat, like, over time.
Definitely.
Awesome.
And excellent. And was that something you knew before or was new knowledge?
It was, like, some of it, like, the events, like, from the past part, like, that they repeat that, like, I knew that before, and then, like, that stuff still happens. Like, it's new.
Okay, great. Anyone else want to add? Or we'll move on. Okay, great. So, Zach, you want to take it away?
All right, so this is going to require your guys' participation and being a little involved either through writing or through reading. So you wrote just what you before about what you wanted, things that you want to remember. The question now is, now that you've learned about it and now that you've spent time discussing it, I want to just share my screen quickly. The question is, what is the best way to commemorate the Holocaust? Not necessarily why, or I guess and why, and why. Right, like if you're in your school or if you are in your camp or anytime, what do you think is the best way to commemorate the Holocaust? Just try to think of some creative ways and just put it in the chat box, or you could say it out loud. Either we'd love to see some of your ideas. I could give some examples. Like even if you look at these pictures on the left side, this is the train tracks that lead to Auschwitz, which was one of the major death camps. So many people go and visit. Many people go and visit. Many people go and visit these places. Different types of concentration camps and places in Poland as a way to commemorate. So that's just one example. What other ways do you think, or including this, what ways do you think we should commemorate and remember what happened in the Holocaust? So love to hear from all of you. So you could write in the chat box or you could talk it out loud. Or you could talk it out loud. Right. We want practical ideas, right? So, going to visit sites, that's like an idea, not just remembering people. It's not just about, it's like, how are you going to remember those people? Are you just going to think about them like all the time? Are you going to have a special day that you remember them? Are you going to have a special ceremony? So things like that, if you could just write them or speak them out on this webcam where we can all see each other and discuss. Okay. So Dina, you wrote create a memorial. That's great. That's a great example. If you could just get a little bit more specific, what does it mean by a memorial? Okay, Daniel, cool. Celebrating their fight, dark mood. Do you want to explain that a bit? Eli, very practical, reading books. Yeah, Daniel, explain what you wrote.
It's sort of like you can remember them in a good way by doing fun-ish events, by giving their memories some, just make it a better mood. But at the same time, you remember them because they did pass away. So that's where the dark mood comes in effect.
Interesting. But celebrating, commemorating them by having a good time and celebrating life. Really cool. Sarah, you wrote a really cool idea, Polar Bear Sarah. Someone write a book about every single person killed. Interestingly, Steven Spielberg, who is a famous director from the United States of America, has actually a project like that where he tried. My grandfather actually did like an hour interview where he told his story about the Holocaust. Nicole wrote a ceremony. That's a really good one. People do that. Statue Museum. Danielle. There's in a lot of cities they actually have Holocaust museums. Some very, very small ones, but there's 2 massive ones, which I highly suggest everybody visit at some point in their life. The number one is in Israel, in Jerusalem, 10 minutes from my house, is one called Yad Vashem, which is a big one, and also in your capital of the United States, in Washington, D.C. They have probably the second best Holocaust museum in the world. We're getting some great answers.
What about in places where the Holocaust happened? Do they need to have memorials that are different to memorials anywhere else? What kind of memorials could they have there? I'll just tell you an example. Oh, sorry.
No, go.
Go ahead.
Go.
I'm trying to find the photo. I'll see if I can find it. My grandmother comes from a small town in Germany, and she managed to escape before the Holocaust. But what they have in that town nowadays is all over the city. Here's an example. Sorry, I'm just going to show you in this book. They have these stepping stones on the road. Can you see? You can all see. It says on this one, Clara Hertzberg, who was my great-great-grandmother. And so each person who was killed from that village has their own little plaque on the ground. So you can't escape the Holocaust when you're living there, which is something that's very interesting if you can think about how that makes people feel, how that makes Germans feel nowadays if they weren't in the Holocaust, but how it makes them feel that every single place they walk, they see things connected to the Holocaust. You all had some really incredible ideas. Making websites, Melissa. That's a great one, especially right. Media nowadays.
Right. This is really important because this is really this is the way that people learn about it, right? We showed you at the beginning how, I forget the number, but in terms of education, there's 6 states in the entire United States that require people to learn about the Holocaust. Not everybody is learning about it. Not everybody knows about it. And it's it's our responsibility, those of us who learn it, to teach it. And one of the ways to teach it is by commemorating, whether it is going to school and telling people about good books, or telling them to go see a video, or inviting them to a ceremony, whether they're Jewish or not. It's it's a commemoration which everybody should have and should take part in.
Okay, so now we're going to go back to the topic of this class, essentially, which we've kind of started off, but now we're going to talk about it properly. The day after, meaning the day after the Holocaust ended. So these are two different pictures of the day after the Holocaust ended. Let's start with the one on the top. What kind of feelings or do you think are being expressed in that photo?
Happy.
Charity? Yeah?
They're happy, excited, because the Holocaust is over.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a photo like that? Yeah? Okay. Anyone else ever seen photos like that after the Holocaust? If you think of photos that you've seen after the Holocaust, do they usually look like that? Or do they look more like the one on the bottom left?
More like bottom left.
Usually, a lot of the photos that we see from after the Holocaust are the one like on the bottom left. And what does that look like? Hayden? Hunter? We haven't heard from you guys yet. Brooke?
It looks like they're sad.
Yeah, they're sad.
Thank you.
Why would they be sad after the Holocaust is finished? It's over.
Because they like lost so many Jews.
Thanks, yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's true. They lost a lot of Jews. They don't know what happened to their families. Some of them do, some of them don't. And they're kind of not sure what to do with themselves. So we've got these two different conflicting feelings here that you can see in these two different pictures. On the one hand, they were so happy that the day finally came that they were waiting for. On the other hand, they were still unsure of the future because they didn't know what they lost during the Holocaust. So it was a bit of a confusing time for people after the Holocaust. And I can tell you, even one interesting thing that you might not know is that after the Holocaust, a lot of Jews went back to see what happened in their areas where they were from. And in some places, Jews were still killed after the Holocaust when they went back to see what was going on. So, for example, my grandfather was going to go back to his village, and he was warned not to go in case something would happen, so he sent someone else to go and look. And a lot of the time people were just looking for family members. It was a long, long process. They had to fill out lots of forms, and they had to get started with their lives again. And yes, they were very thin and unwell, and some people died just from eating too much after the Holocaust because their bodies just couldn't handle it. So it was, on the one hand, it was extremely happy. Everyone was overjoyed. I don't know if any of you have seen, there's a new movie that just came out about the princesses in England. I've forgotten what it's called. It was actually quite a cute movie about what happened after World War II finished in England and how they went out into the crowd and mingled with everyone. Point being that there were a lot of mixed feelings. On the one hand, everyone's happy that it's finished, and on the other hand, it's still a huge scar and they've got to deal with it now. So now, we're going to ask you the following question.
Yeah. So we're gonna watch a quick video in a bit, but the question is, like, post Holocaust, as Michal was talking about, is what people did. How did people react? What was going on with them? And the question which we want to talk about is revenge, right? Right, as the question says right here, is it ever justified? Meaning, how should, so Adina already quickly writes a quick no, right? Right, so thank you for people responding. No. Everyone's saying no. I love to hear a response, right? These are people who, went through such pain. And, we talked about, the partisans and the people who fought physically back, and that was fine then. So after the fact, once the Holocaust is over, is it fine for them to then, be violent or take revenge on those that literally mass murdered by the thousands and millions to those people that hurt them? So we had a lot of responses, a lot of no's. Love for people to expand on it because, right, so Melissa, great. It depends on the type of revenge they seek. Melissa, you want to talk about that a little bit?
I just think that so I think that definitely it's not okay to retaliate by killing the Nazis then, because that's just really not what we believe in as Jews. But
Okay.
I feel like something maybe in a non-violent, just to kind of send a message.
What would be a non-violent revenge? Yeah, great. The rabbi asked that.
I'm not exactly sure. Maybe just by doing some kind of ad campaign, just something to show everyone what
Right.
happened, why it shouldn't be that way.
Okay, thank you. A lot of people wrote no. Koala Danielle writes, revenge keeps on going and going and never ends.
The Godfather.
Right. Do you wanna talk about that? And see and maybe explain that a little bit? Koala Danielle? So
When a
peaceful.
person is mad at someone else, then they do something about that, then the other person will be mad at them, and then they'll do something about it, and it'll keep going and going and not be good. It would end up just being a waste of time.
Right. So I guess really a lot of people are writing no, and honestly, no, I'm just reading what the rabbi wrote. Everyone should read on the text. It's really important. Right. According to in Judaism, really revenge is something that is not looked highly upon. It's something that we don't. So, I think Melissa said, something that we as Jews don't do. I'd love to show a video to everyone, which you guys can access here. Please watch it. And we'll talk about it a bit afterwards. But really thinking about this idea of revenge and what that means. And so people responded no, but they gave other responses. So what we're going to talk about a little bit after this video is what other responses were there to the Holocaust from those who survived. So watch the video. I'll post the clip one more time. You guys can watch it.
After the liberation, this Russian, he happened to be a colonel in the army. You know what he told me? He said, we'll give you guns and you can go around any German you see. You can shoot. And we're thinking to ourselves, what in the heck is he talking about? I didn't like what they were doing to us. So why should I go do that? Justice, yes. Vengeance, no.
Someone's video on? Or is it mine?
It's fine now.
Okay. Dina, you're good? All right. Thumbs up if you finished the clip. Okay, so it'll take 30 more seconds.
I think we can start now.
Right. Okay, anyone want to explain what they think the main lesson they got from this video clip was? Right, Melissa, I think I got it. I like what you said. Vengeance, no. Justice, yes. Justice is making something right. Okay, we're gonna talk about this a little bit more, and Michal's gonna continue with a lino, or right before that, something else. Yeah.
Okay, first maybe we'll just want to continue with the poll.
Oh, you want to do the poll first? Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So, what we're gonna do right now is we've seen this online tool before. It's called Check This. It's a poll, but usually it's sort of like I just put a picture in a poll. This has information on it. There's around 4 paragraphs, which you guys have to read. And what they talk about are different responses from the survivors or different ideas about what to do after the Holocaust with the Nazis or their relationship with them or how to respond. What I'd like you to do is to please read all of them and get all the information you can. It shouldn't take so long. Take maybe the next 3-4 minutes, and then at the end there's a poll. But don't just skip to the end to vote, because then you're not learning anything. So first read it and then go to that. Okay? So I'll post the link once more, and everybody should go to this link and to read and vote. And I hope I gave you the right link.
Right. In other words, what is justice, right? You said before, Melissa, justice is making something right. So how do we make it right? What kind of ways can we use to do that? It's 4 different ways. Oh. Let's see if we can get the poll heating up. Once enough people reply, it's on fire. So.
How do you move this poll? Don't want to see responses yet because you guys should be reading. Make sure you read. So putting all Nazis on trial, that's great, but make sure you're reading everything. This is my favorite check this of the year, by the way. Wow.
I'm putting a question in the chat box. If you've already responded, please answer this question.
Michal put a great question. So people voted. I'd say most people, I hope, read. But most voted put the Nazis on trial. Okay, so following that answer, Michal put a question, which I'm going to repost because it's just so good. Okay, and everyone should answer. Do you think we should? So knowing that most people voted here that Nazis should go on trial, 12 votes said put Nazis on trial. 1 vote said just forget them and move on. Should they still be put on trial? And
okay,
as you guys answer this, I'm actually going to go to I want to show you something. So people are writing.
Interesting, sir.
Right, Eli's great. I do not think there should be an age limit. Sarah said, they not be on trial. The past is the past, and grudges should not be held. Hi, Haley. Wow, that's really right. right? Really important. I'm pretty sure in the States, and someone correct me if I'm wrong, there's a statute of limitations, I think, that after a certain amount of time, I don't know if it's with murder, maybe, Rabbi, you could shed some light. Is there a certain amount of time that someone cannot be tried for something? I don't know. It's the truth. My guess is no. But on the question, I want to show you something quickly. Regardless of how you felt, whether we should or we should not, the truth is, right now this is, I don't know if I saw this. This is
It actually happened
right.
already.
Oscar Groening, a former death camp officer, will go on trial in Germany, or he went. This is in the past now. Germany in April, charged with at least 300,000 accounts of accessory to murder. Not necessarily murdering themselves, but allowing them to get killed. On 15 July 2015, he was found guilty and sentenced to 4 years in prison. I tried finding another article, which I just read. There's a 96-year-old man who is very sick and it's hard for him to travel, and he is being put on trial for being a Nazi. There's literally, actually a pretty cool job. There's a guy I met who is, his job, he's a Nazi hunter. It sounds like a vampire show, but it's a real thing. This guy, and there's more. This person spent, I don't know his name, spent his entire life finding previous Nazis and finding them, and his revenge was not just killing them, because that's illegal and you can't do that, right? Was finding them and putting them on trial, sending them back to Germany. I think the Simon Wiesenthal Center, which is a really important Holocaust organization that deals with the Holocaust. One of the things they did was try to find previous Nazis. And I think they found like in the hundreds, Nazis, and sent them back.
Okay, I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that these Nazis were living their whole lives. They had carefree lives without anyone catching them, and just normal lives. It's pretty sad. Whereas the survivors went through hell. So this is just something that sums up what we were just speaking about. And as we mentioned before, as a few of you mentioned before, it's not the Jewish way to take revenge. As you can see from two of these quotes here, one quote from the Torah and one quote from the Talmud. Okay, and we said if we can't take revenge on Nazis, was there anything we can do? We can put them on trial. So what we're going to do now, besides for that, what can we do on a personal level? Should we be buying products that are made by companies that supported the Nazis? So we're going to now, I'm going to put it in the chat box and give you the link to a lino board about German products, or products that were made and used by the Nazis. And we're going to see if you think people should be using those products nowadays or not. You'll be surprised also what kind of products were actually used by the Nazis. So please go into the lino and start posting. Okay, you can choose one of the many posts that are here. If you've done that, then go on to the next one. Give you about 3 or 4 more minutes. I know it's not much because there's a lot of information here. Can't wait to hear what you have to say about some of these things.
We have a bunch of stickies posted.
Wow, we can see some great answers. I'm just going to go into If you can see that your post is blocking someone else's, please try and move it. Otherwise, I'll just move it after.
All right, I think we should
Okay.
get started.
I'm going to finish up now. Some of you, so we had a bit of disagreement about whether we should buy products. Have you ever heard of this debate before? Whether you should buy products that are made from German companies that supported the Nazis? Yeah, Melissa, you're nodding your head. Okay. Does anyone in your family do this? Or like not buy certain products because of that? Anyone? I can tell you my mum's very anti. Although she does have something. Oh, my dad bought a BMW, so she's very annoyed at him. But that's all right. Okay. So we're going to just finish up here. Where are we? We spoke about justice towards the Nazis. We spoke about how do we, some ways that are maybe more accepted ways of kind of trying to make sure that the people who perform these horrible atrocities actually will get their due, get what the punishment that they deserve. And where are we? Here we go. Sorry, guys. We didn't get to speaking about Israel, but we will speak about that at the beginning of next week, connecting the Holocaust to Israel. And looking at the Holocaust from a perspective of now having a state of our own. But what we're going to be doing for the independent exercise is based on last week's class. So if you weren't in the class, please watch the recording. You're going to design a logo or write a slogan against any genocide that you learnt about that can include the Holocaust. So we're going to put the link to the Google Slides in the chat box now, and we'll also send it to you during the week. Melissa, you are right. Also, you heard a lot about reparations from Germany. Some people say Israel today wouldn't exist without the money that they received from Germany. So it's something interesting to think about. Although, does money mean that it is forgiven? Okay, reparations meaning Germany gave Israel lots of money and continues to give Israel money today. In all different sorts of ways. Okay, so this is going to be the independent exercise, anti-genocide slogans. Let's see who can be the most creative. Looking forward to seeing your slogans. We hope you have a great week. We are very excited to start our Israel unit next week.
February 29th.
No.
Oh.
February 8th.
My bad, yes.
February 8th, and then we're going to have a 2-week hiatus, and we're back again on February 29th. So thank you all for your incredible participation today.
You guys were great.
Videos.
Great to hear your voices again.
Yay. So have a great week. Oh, we'll put the thing in the chat box now.
All right.
Sorry.
Bye, everyone.